Hey guys, welcome back to some more reviews, and today talking about the sequel to Grave Encounters, Grave Encounters 2, which came out in 2012. It's a 5.1 on IMDb. This is a film that I'm not a fan of this sequel. Now I will say this movie's not total garbage. There is stuff that I love about it. There is stuff that I think is decent, but still, it's my opinion, it's bad enough to get a rant. But this isn't going to be one of those reviews where I'm screaming and yelling at the movie. It's just, I might raise my voice because there's a few ideas that just are extremely ridiculous and stupid. But I'm not going to be like throwing it across the room or anything like that. I don't hate it that much. But, in my opinion, the sequel, it's just, it has a lot of these ideas that are just really silly. Silly ideas the original movie didn't have. The original movie, like I said, it kept it very basic. Kept it simple, and it worked. Here, they introduced a lot of new ideas. They introduced this whole teleportation, portals in the walls, and stuff like that. And it reminded me of the game Portal. I swear it reminded me of the game Portal. And so you got portals and walls, you got freaking doors that are just like right there, they don't lead anywhere, they're just doors. And in my opinion, the sequel was just not as well made as the original movie. They don't go to the asylum to the very end of the film, or it felt like it at least. When they get there, it takes a while for stuff to happen, and then when stuff starts to happen, and then when stuff does start happening, they end up leaving the asylum and they come back again. Actually, the cool scene, I will admit, this is a cool idea where they get off this elevator and boom, they're back at the asylum. But before I get into all the problems, I should say that, probably talk about the story a little bit. Basically, what the story is about is you got this movie reviewer, and this is an idea that I love. I love this idea, and I will talk about the next thing that I loved as well. But I love the idea of having the lead character, a film director, sort of makes low-budget horror films, and he does movie reviews, what I'm doing right now. And it's something that I can relate to because I'm a movie reviewer. And it's really cool they actually have a horror film out there. I'm sure there's other horror films out there that involve movie reviewing. I'm sure there is, but it's just really cool that this involved movie reviews on YouTube. I love that idea, and I love the intro to the movie, where it's a montage of some famous YouTube movie reviewers reviewing the first Grave Encounters. People like Cool Duder and stuff like that. Really cool intro into the movie. Very, very cool. I love that part. I would probably say it was the best part of the movie, honestly, because the rest of the movie just, I swear, the first half of the movie is just the lead character is shooting not short films, but shooting low-budget horror films. Which it was cool at first. It was really cool. And it's either him doing that or it's him partying. It's pretty much the almost first half of the movie. About there. Almost to the first half, but, a good chunk of the movie is him partying or directing these horror films. And it got kind of boring at times because this is all he was doing it in the beginning, just partying and directing films. So it got kind of boring at times until he finds out, this is an also idea that I hated, that I don't get. It was confusing, and it made the movie extremely, confusing. Where it's a movie within a movie, because Grave Encounters 1 and this sequel's world is a movie. But yet, it really did happen in this movie's world. You can't do a movie within a movie, but yet the movie really happens. You can't do that movie. I'm sorry. Maybe there are films that's done that, but they probably made it work. Here, it just doesn't work. Because it confuses me. I'm like, so wait a minute, movie. You're saying that this movie, these people were reviewing in the movie, is a actual real footage it's a film with real footage in it, and real people getting killed, and real people, and real ghosts and stuff like that. So you're saying that. You're saying that they would release... it's confusing, because it doesn't make sense. It's like, they wouldn't release real footage like that in theaters. So it's a stupid idea. I was like, that's very confusing. Either you're a movie within a movie, or you're not. Don't do this whole, well, we're a movie within a movie, but still, it really did happen. Because it's like, so what you're saying is the movie was real footage? It doesn't happen, I'm sorry. They can't release real footage like that in theaters and stuff like that. They'd get sued. Or, it wouldn't be allowed. Sorry movie, you can't do that. I found that idea to be very stupid. I was like, so what you're saying is it's a movie within a movie, but at the same time the previous movie happened in this world. In this movie's world. I'm like, that doesn't make sense. And it was very confusing because I'm like, so these people in theaters and even watching it on DVD are seeing people dying. I'm like, would this really happen? Would this really happen? And no, it would not happen because you can't release real footage like that in theaters. So it was an idea that I was sort of like, that's a very stupid idea. And like I mentioned in my previous review for the first Grave Encounters, they feature these freaking holes in the walls that lead you to different parts of the asylum. Now, that idea is silly. I swear, whenever they jump through these portals, it reminds me of the game Portal. It reminds me of the video game. They jump in there, boom, they teleport down here. They jump in this one, it teleports them over here. I'm like, this is stupid. It was very stupid to watch. It was silly watching it. We went from a basic idea in the original movie that worked. These people trapped in an asylum. They gotta try and get out. They can't get out no matter what. These ghosts are killing them off one by one. Here, this guy is a filmmaker. His friend is a pothead. He pretty much smokes weed all day. Doesn't really care about his friend. Doesn't really care about the lead character, whose name is, try to get the, character's name on here. Is it Richard Harmon? Yeah, Richard Harmon, who's been in films like Percy Jackson, the Olympian, Lightning Thief, and a few other movies. But pretty much this cast in this movie sucks. There's only one character I like, and that's maybe the lead character, because I thought that he did a good job acting, Richard Harmon, and he was a likable character and you felt sorry for this character because all of his friends pretty much don't care about him. Well, at least his pothead friend doesn't. He just they're talking crap to this dude, and I'm like, his friend's a freaking jerk. Doesn't really care about his friend that much, just sort of talks crap to the character a lot. And I was like, this dude's a freaking jerk. And his girlfriend, I didn't even care for the actress that played his girlfriend. She wasn't really that good. And the rest of the cast is forgettable because pretty much what he does is, like I said, he's at college, he's partying, and the first pretty much part of a big chunk of the movie is him partying and directing films, which was cool to see him direct horror films because it's a fun idea. But after a while, when it's about 30 minutes and there's no talk about the asylum, I'm like, okay, let's go, movie, come on. In the first movie, bam, the first freaking shot, they're at the asylum. Granted, they're outside of it, but they're at the asylum. They're on location. If you disregard the freaking intro to the first movie, that the guy's like, oh, this is real footage you're about to see, and this is some tapes that we found of Grave Encounters TV show. If you disregard that, because I guess you could say, well, that's the beginning of the movie. But after that, boom, when the story of them being at the asylum begins, they're at the asylum at the beginning of the movie, pretty much. Here, it takes them about 30 minutes to get there. And what happens is this guy is curious about the ending of the first movie. And he wants to see if this really did happen. and then he finds out about the asylum, and then he gets his friends together, and they're gonna go to the asylum with cameras and stuff like that. And on their way there, they interview Lance Preston's mom. Wasn't really that interesting. Then they leave, and then they're on their way to the asylum. And I swear, a big chunk of the not a big chunk of the movie, but there's a lot of time of them driving, and listen to music and stuff like that. I was just like, okay, get to the asylum, let's go. And then they get to the asylum. They finally get into the asylum. I think they even interview somebody else, another person or something like that. I think it's actually a couple. They interview a couple or something like that, I think. And they finally get in there. When they do get in there, they set up cameras and stuff like that. And by this point, it's about halfway through the movie. So I'm like, pretty much, when they do get there, it's pretty much half the movie's gone. So I'm like, okay, it took us forever to get to this freaking asylum. And when they get there, all that happens, they set up the cameras. A ghost pushed the guy out this window. Granted, I would say it was shocking, but the character was nothing. I didn't really remember the character at all. Pushed the dude out the window. Then, they find a Ouija board. They're messing with the Ouija board. Or I think it's actually just written on a table, I think. Or something like that. They find, Ouija stuff. I think they find a Ouija board or it's on a table or something like that. They mess around with it. The table shakes and it flies this way. And then they're trapped in there, trying to get out. And one by one, these people start to disappear and die. And like I said, these characters aren't likable. I don't care about them. At least in the first movie, you had likable characters and decent acting. Here, the only good actor is Richard Harmon, and his character is an unlikable character. So the cast pretty much sucks. They're running around trying to get out. They go in the lower levels of the asylum. I think there's a police officer that comes in there, tells them they're not supposed to be there. They, end up getting out of there, find a way out of the asylum. They go back to their hotel, trying to pack up their stuff to get ready to leave. They get in the elevator at the actual hotel. And I will say, this is a really cool idea where, the elevator goes down, and then when it opens back up, they're back in the bottom of the asylum again, the lower parts of the asylum. So that was a very cool idea. Definitely a very eye-opening scene, like, oh crap, they're back to the asylum. It was a crazy idea. It was creepy. It was definitely creepy. But by this time, we were almost to the hour mark. And they find Lance Preston, which is another problem. They bring Lance Preston back. They bring the actor back and everything, just to be a murderous psychopath that's unlikable. Because he pretty much treats these kids like jerks. And his acting is pretty much acting crazy and stuff like that. If you're going to bring back your lead character from the first movie, bring him back, and make him a murderous psychopath that kills people, and make him an unlikable character. People are like, well, he was trapped in the asylum, and yeah, he would be crazy. Okay. So he is crazy. How about he just snaps out of it? How about they tell him, and he snaps out of it, realizes, hey, these are people, and maybe I can get out of here. Have him snap out of it, because this psychopathic killer, Lance Preston, was not likable. All he does is act crazy and kill these people off. And I guess you could say the ghosts are maybe in control of him because of how long he's been there, because they tell him to do something and he does it pretty much. I'm like, if you're gonna do this to your lead character from the last movie, and Lance Preston was a likable character because he tried to get his team out of there, and at first he's a fraud, a fake, a phony, but then towards the end of the movie, or towards the middle, basically towards the middle of the movie, starts to realize that he needs to get his team out of this building. And here he's just a murderous psychopath. So I'm like, if you're gonna do that to your character, if you're gonna make your lead character from the last movie unlikable, don't bring him back. Make Lance Preston dead then, because I don't want to see him become a murderous psychopath that's unlikable. He basically becomes an unlikable character. If you're gonna do that, don't even bring him back, because why bring him back? But and then he basically dies at the end of the movie, so there's no point to bringing him back. You know, I mean, this is a sequel that I was very disappointed with because it was a movie I was very excited for. You know, Brave Encounters was actually a movie I wanted to see a franchise to. I wanted to see sequels to. So when I found out about this movie, I was like, heck yeah, I'm in a sequel, I'm going to watch it. Watched it, and it was just like, it did some very stupid things that I did not like. Some things were good. I would say this, though. The CGI isn't that bad. The makeup effects are decent. And there are some creepy ideas. And there's only one likable character. Besides that, the rest of this cast sucks. The movie felt boring at times. It's only an hour and 35 minutes, but it felt very boring at times. It takes them very long to get to the asylum. When they get there, you know, they're barely there and they leave again, only to get back in the asylum again because, you know, the whole elevator scene. Lance Preston, they bring him back, his unlikable character, he's just a crazy psychopath. And the ending of the freaking movie is freaking confusing. And I also hate this whole freaking movie within a movie. Oh, the first Ravencon was a movie, but yet it really happened. You can't do both things, movie. I'm sorry. It just doesn't work. You can't do both of them. I'm sorry. Go with one or the other. Either it's just a movie or it really did happen. The first Ravencounters in this movie's world. You can't do both. I'm sorry. It just did not work. It got very confused because I was like, well, that means that they released it in theater. It doesn't make sense. It felt very unrealistic and stupid. And I get it's like, oh, it's a horror movie, not supposed to be realistic. But it was just an idea that was just so obvious. You know, when they say, oh, it really did happen, Lance Preston's there and everything, it's like, it's so obvious, like, what the freak? It doesn't make sense. You can't do both things, movie. You can't do a movie within a movie and have the movie also, you know, be real. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't work, in my opinion. In my opinion, it doesn't work. Maybe other movies have done it and it actually worked. In this movie, it didn't. It got confusing. A very confusing ending. An ending that I'm not really sure where they're going to take the franchise now. And, yeah, just a lot of ideas also that are just stupid and goofy. The whole teleportation portal crap was stupid. The freaking door that literally leads to a field, an open field of grass, with grass, stuff like that, and trees and stuff. Basically, this door leads to an open field. I'm not really sure. Maybe it's a metaphor that maybe he escaped finally. Maybe Lance Preston finally escaped from, you know, insanity, and he finally escaped from the asylum. Maybe it was just a metaphor. I don't know. They never explain it. I think they do explain the door, but it's like, it's there. It's used like once, and then that's pretty much it. It doesn't really get used again. Or at least I don't remember if it does. The movie's also very forgettable because I watched it not a long time ago, but I watched it a few months ago, and it's still hard to remember some of the details because it's that forgettable. But basically, more and more people disappear off. Lance Preston kills lead character's friend, strangles him. Good makeup effect where he strangles him and there's blood coming out. Very, you know, very gruesome scene. So makeup effects in that scene were decent. I mean, it was definitely a gruesome scene. And eventually they run into this demon crawling up this freaking door. Creepy scene, by the way. Very creepy scene. All this stuff's going on, and it pretty much leads to the end of the movie where Lance Preston trying to kill this dude's girlfriend and him. And Lance Preston pretty much gets killed. And I guess there's just like this portal on the wall, and it ends up going away. Because I guess trying to get sucked into the portal or something like that. But it ends up going away. Lance Preston ends up getting killed. I don't get this idea. I don't get it. I don't understand where it's going to take this franchise. At the end of the freaking movie, the lead character just stands there, and I guess you could say, oh, the ghosts are making him do this, but I didn't see a ghost fly into him. I didn't see him get possessed. I didn't see, like, an orb. You know how sometimes ghosts form into little orbs? I didn't see that. He just stands there, and this is literally the end of the movie, where he goes, I must end the film. The movie must end. Looks at his girlfriend, You know, she's kind of scared. He's talking all crazy, talking about ending the film. I'm like, what are you talking about, man? Just get out of the asylum. He's like, oh, I must end the movie. I must end the film. The film must end. It all must end. Takes the freaking camera, quarantine style, pushes his girlfriend on the ground. I think she actually, I don't know if she falls over, he pushes her over, whatever. Takes the camera, quarantine style, like I said, quarantine did this. Camera and bashes her face in with the camera. And good makeup effect though, where there's glass in the eye and the face is all messed up. I mean, the makeup effect was decent. It was definitely gross to look at, very gross. But it just didn't make sense. I'm like, dude, you just killed your girlfriend. I'm like, what are you doing? You say, oh, he's possessed by a ghost. I'm like, well, it wasn't that obvious. They never explained it. They never explained why he did that. Other than he must end the film. I'm like, so what are you talking about, man? End the film? End the movie? What the freak? I must end the film. The film must end. I didn't get it. I was like, where is this going? Where is the story going? I don't know. I didn't get it. And then pretty much you see like security camera footage of him walking down, like the lead character walking down the street. The police pull him over and arrest him. And I swear, I freaking swear, it cuts to the freaking dude from the original movie, from the first movie. You know, the guy at the beginning of the movie saying, oh, this is real. Well, it has him and the lead character, Richard Harmon, sitting in a room, or sitting, you know, by a computer, or sitting basically in this room, telling the audience, look at the camera and saying, oh, well, this wasn't real. If anybody thought it was real, it wasn't real. This is just a movie. And if you guys want to prove anything's real, and just don't go after it, I'm like, what the freak is this? Is it supposed to be breaking the fourth wall? Is it supposed to be a result of the movie within a movie, but yet it really happened sort of thing going on in this movie? It was just, I don't know. The movie went all over the place with this whole movie within a movie, but yet it really happened crap. It really got into a cluster, and I didn't get it. It was confusing. And the guy's like, well, what do you gotta tell them, man? Turns to Richard Harmon and goes, what do you gotta tell them, man? And he goes, it's just not real. Don't go looking for it, or something like that. And then the movie ends. That's where the story ends. I'm like, so did Grave Encounters 2 happen? Or was that a movie within a movie? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if this was just a movie and it was fake in the world of this movie. I don't freaking know. It's probably confusing me explaining it, but watching it, it's that confusing as well. You know, while I was watching the movie, it was just, I wasn't getting where the story was going. It didn't make sense. So, yeah, I mean, you had decent makeup effects. You did have some decent scenes that were done well. You also had some creepy ideas, some ideas that I loved. I loved the idea of a YouTube movie reviewer and him making horror films. It's a fun idea. I also loved the idea of the montage of YouTube movie reviews from people like Cool Duder at the beginning of the movie. That was awesome. But half the movie's him partying or shooting horror films until he finds out that he wants to go to this asylum. The cast is unlikable. It takes him forever to get to the asylum. The pace is kind of slow at times. Kind of gets a little bit sluggish. Kind of like, come on, man, let's go, movie. On to the next scene or something like that. It just felt very sluggish at times. And yeah, just in my opinion, Grave Encounters 2 is just not a very well made sequel. It's not a sequel that I, you know, hate to death. It's not a sequel that I think is total crap. But still, it's bad enough to get a rant. And it's just not a very well made sequel in my opinion. So, thanks for watching my review for Grave Encounters 2. And thanks for watching my reviews on the Grave Encounters movies. And I'll see you guys on the next review. Bye, guys.